All right, I want to welcome everyone to the discussion on A Man Was Lynched Yesterday. So I want to thank you all for joining this discussion. It is an honor to have every single one of you on this discussion today, this evening. So again, can you please mute yourselves at this point? Okay, just for out of respect for everyone else, so everyone can hear us live and make sure everyone can hear us clearly. So what I would like to do right now, I'd like to go around. I'm gonna start off with Anthony Nolan. If you could say your name, one thing about yourself, your profession, your title, city, town, and why are you here tonight? Can you unmute yourself, please?
Anthony Nolan, state rep for New London, Connecticut, police officer in New London, Connecticut. And I am here so we can create a plan to change the system that we live in and make it better.
Thank you very much. Next one is Stephen Wilson.
Good afternoon. My name is Steve Wilson. I am an 8th grade history teacher, U.S. history. I am from Bloomfield. I am here tonight really just to provide some information, some feedback on what's going on regarding like education and how the youth are feeling, how the family are feeling, how teachers are feeling and so forth. So I'm really looking forward to engaging in this conversation tonight.
Awesome. Thank you for being here too. Greg Bernard.
History. I'm here tonight.
Some feedback.
I really just to provide some information, some feedback.
All right, gentlemen.
Okay. Thank you very much, Greg. Rob Felder.
Good evening. My name is Rob Felder. I am the program manager of the Minority Advancement Program for the Office of Higher Education. I'm also the CEO and co-founder of Driven to Inspire, as well as Felder Works, and I'm coming out of West Haven, Connecticut. It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much for joining us. And Abdul-Rahaam.
How's everybody doing tonight? My name is Abdul-Rahaam Muhammed. I'm the executive director of My People Clinical Services in Hartford. I'm here tonight because with all the different things that are going on between the COVID-19 crisis and the racism and abuse of Black people, I feel like it's important for us to come together and discuss these issues and come up with some solutions.
Okay, next one, Wakime Hauser.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. My name is Wakime Hauser. I am a 7th grade special education teacher in East Hartford. I'm also an entrepreneur. I own Workout Harder Fitness in Manchester, Connecticut, and I live in Windsor, Connecticut. I am here because I am not the problem. I want to be a part of the solution.
Thank you. Next one, Vernon Moore.
Hello, everybody. First of all, pleasure to be here. Vernon Moore, co-founder of Embracing Your Difference, LLC, mentoring service and therapy in New Haven, Connecticut. Also school social worker, also a resident of Southeastern Connecticut, New London and Groton. And I'm here for the educational conversation, but I'm also here to talk about the mental health piece and kind of how our people are feeling and try to offer some help on that level as well. So pleasure to be here now.
Thank you very much. And Kayron Booker.
How you guys doing today? Kayron Booker, truck driver. I live in North Carolina. And I'm just here to express myself, listen to solid people, make great conversation, and get a feel for how everyone is impacted around the United States, not just here in North Carolina.
Thank you very much. Curtis Goodwin.
Hi, everyone. Curtis Goodwin here. I am a city councilor for the city of New London, Connecticut. I work in media, specializing in diversity and advertising recruitment solutions. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we begin this conversation this evening, I would like to do a 20 seconds of silence for all the individuals who have lost their lives to social injustice in our nation. This is a deep conversation. I want to also just show our appreciation, our gratitude, just for coming together as a community as well during this time and this crisis that we are in. So 20 seconds, we can bow our heads. Thank you. So as we're here today, you know, there's a lot of, we're watching television, we're seeing all these things, these images. You know, many of us have been on this planet for a while, and through these times, you know, it becomes emotionally draining. And we are dealing with this crisis as Black men and coming together as Black men. You know, it's just sometimes it's just so much we have to deal with work, our families. And I think about the emotional toll it takes on all of us. So the first question I have is for Rob Felder and Greg Bernard. When I think about emotional and what it is to be a Black man in America, you know, what does it mean to be a Black man in America during these tumultuous times? And how are you doing right now emotionally, physically, spiritually, you know, and even mentally? Greg Bernard, and I'll start off with you, Greg, and then I'll go right to Rob Felder.
All right, well, thank you, Kevin. I was having some technical difficulties in the beginning, so I didn't get an opportunity to properly introduce myself to everyone. I'm Greg Bernard, CEO and founder of the Bernard Group, which is a leadership development and career preparation company that helps young men and women, particularly from marginalized backgrounds, really compete in a contemporary workforce. I'm also the director of alumni relations at Southern Connecticut State University, formerly the director of alumni relations at UConn. To answer your question and kind of jump right in, what does it mean to be a Black man in America right now? Particularly for this cohort of men on this call, I feel that we are bridging a gap, right? Because many of us are intergenerational. We kind of on the cusp of baby boomers, Gen X, and even on the cusp of millennials, depending on how those are defined. So we are carrying the weight of our forefathers and all the struggles and things that they fought for, the lynchings, the hosings, the Black Panther movement, the assassination of two of our pillars. Many of us were born during that time, or our parents experienced it. And at the same time, we're trying to bridge the gap and lead the way for the young generation. So we have a big burden on our shoulders to really make that happen. So I think we're in an interesting space in our personal and professional lives where people are looking to us to lead the way, but we're also still carrying that burden from our forefathers in that regard. So I think every generation has dealt with that, but I think over the past 60 to 70 years, we've dealt with so many things that have been visual for us to see and the rest of the world to see, and for us to kind of deal with and compartmentalize. The other aspect of being a Black man in America right now that's really, really frustrating is we live in this false sense of success and systematic hypocrisy. We all have jobs and careers, but we're all 1 or 2 paychecks away from struggling and being impoverished. And all of that is built on the systematic oppression of not giving us opportunity to have land and have capital. So we don't have anything to fall back on. So we've created our own levels of success. When we're pushed to the margin, it's based on material things. So we define success as the clothes we have, the cars we drive. Now people of color are more affluent and we're traveling and going on vacations and things like that. But all of that is built and predicated on credit. So we come back from these vacations and now we're deeper in debt and we're further away from financial freedom. And we have a false sense of success and what that looks like. So it's really frustrating because it's almost like your parents give you a little allowance. And when you're 7, 8 years old, you run to the store and you feel like you're balling, right? You got your candy, you're giving it out to your friends in the neighborhood. But when you look at it in different increments, you're really not getting ahead. That's the false reality that we live in because we have been afforded opportunities for certain jobs and careers, but not necessarily professional freedom, financial freedom, and the ability to have capital, so the indisposable income, so we could collectively do things together so we don't have to depend on that system as much. And that's kind of how I feel about being frustrated as a Black man in America, given where I'm at in my generation. And then really quickly, just how I'm feeling, the way I've been really kind of releasing this pressure valve. Every Friday and Saturday, I have virtual phone calls with my family, and then on Saturday with my friends. And we always started off with a prayer. And the past 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we've had at least an hour dialogue about everything that's going on. And it's been really helpful to talk to people that get it, but from different generations, and having our females of color take part in that conversation, because they're the pillars of our community that hold us up when we don't have anyone to turn to, and for years have held us down as men of color. So, I mean, that's how I've been dealing.
Thank you. Rob Felder. I know, you've taken in exactly what Greg was saying at this point. What does it mean to be Black in America for you at this point during these times? And how are you dealing right now emotionally, physically, and spiritually?
So I'll start from the emotional side first and work my way back. Emotionally, I'll be honest with you. I probably walk on the borderline of being angry, upset, and hurt more often than I've probably been in my lifetime. Right. And it's not because I'm not used to hearing about individuals being treated poorly, individuals being killed by those who are supposed to protect, or those who are supposed to be leaders in the community, those who are supposed to be folks who you look up to. But a big part of it is how it's done, right? When it's not just by a mistake, it's not even when someone can't say or give an excuse. And sometimes I think in the past, our communities have looked at it and said, well, maybe that person did do something wrong. Maybe that person did go about it the wrong way. Maybe he did flinch the wrong way. But the thing that hurts me the most, as someone who has 2 kids, as someone who comes from a predominantly Black and African American community out in Jersey City, New Jersey, where I'm originally from, is when he showed me his eyes and he looked up without a care in the world for what anyone thought, or about how the person who he was kneeling on, his face expression said, I care not what you think, and I don't care about the consequences of my actions, right? And when I processed that and I looked at it, the amount of rage that went through my body wasn't normal. Like I'm like, for those who know me, like I'm a big dude, but I have jokes, I laugh, I like to have fun. I don't care to be angry and I don't care to be upset. But to see someone else be treated that way, I couldn't even figure out how. I couldn't even figure out why. And I just gotten to the point I'm done with asking questions about why people treat us some type of way. I'm done trying to figure out reasons. I'm gonna draw conclusions how other people draw conclusions. So when I don't dare say that I'm mad. My aunt told me that only dogs get mad, right? But I'm angry, and my emotions are such where I want to be a part of the solution, and I've been that for 12 years. But I'm like, I got to get deeper in. So when I think about fear, physically and spiritually, like in all honesty, I'm praying for the strength to get through and get my people through. I'm not praying for somebody else to figure out their life. how they gonna treat us better. Because I'm like, that's been there for 400 years. For 400 plus years, we've prayed for folks to figure out a better way to treat us, for them to be better people. We prayed for that. And they've gotten better in some form of fashion. But what I saw the other day, and I think the people who are in the streets and the amount of calls and the amount of Zoom calls that we're experiencing, I think everybody realizes that if we don't change up what we're doing, this might get worse. And just for me, that's why I said I got to start off with the emotional piece. Because for me, that impacted me emotionally. And I was like, I dare not. No. That's not acceptable. None of the rest of it was acceptable, but what I saw right there was pure evil. That was hate. That was somebody who had no concern for anyone else except himself. And we're always sitting here and we're preaching, we're better and we got to take the high road and we got to do everything else. We better protect ourselves. We better protect ourselves because there's nothing more important. Because if I can't be here for my kids over the next couple of decades, then what's the point? What's the point? So I'm not sacrificing myself for the opportunity that somebody else can live better down the line. I'm not about that life anymore. So to go to the other piece about what does it mean to be Black? Like, this is what it means. This is what it means. Because for me, no matter where we are, before anything goes bad, having the opportunity to get together, rock out, commune, like fellowship, regardless of religion, regardless of where we might come from, is all, in all honesty, what we look for. And as long as we continue to try and be someone that we're not, in a world that wasn't looking to make us great, we're always going to have problems. So when I'm thinking about Black men and I'm thinking about where we should be going and what we should be doing and who we are, let's be great in our place, whatever that place is. Let's take it over. Let's run where we are like it's never been run before. Let's make green pastures for the kids who are coming behind us. Let's build something that no longer is about a dream from decades ago, but about something that we can actually make real for ourselves. And then if other people are righteous enough and they're real enough and they really want something that's about us all, then we can open the door and allow them to come in. But man, if we're going to sit here and keep allowing people to spit in our face and tell us that everything's going to be okay, just give it some time, we're going to lose a lot of us waiting for somebody's heart to warm up towards us. That's scary to me. And I'm off it. I can't accept it no more. I'm just not waiting for someone's heart to warm up towards me because of what I look like. No, we've done that. We've done that and we've done it. And I feel like we at some point in time have to start to move forward as a people and heal ourselves instead of trying to heal people who want no parts of what we do at times and who we are.
Thank you, Rob. I'm gonna go down to Vernon Moore, and just for time's sake, all right, we can condense the time a little bit, but I want to thank you, brothers, both of you, for expressing how you're feeling. Appreciate that. Vernon Moore. You gotta unmute yourself.
Just to add to that, everything you brothers said was on point. I just want to add to that, just as a Black male, for me, the extra part of that is having to explain this thing to 3 Black sons. Like, I have 3 Black sons. So on top of everything you guys mentioned, the struggle for me is my 3 Black sons who I teach right from wrong, and I teach if you do things the right way and you follow the rules and you handle yourself respectfully, and you show respect to authority and you show respect this, that, and the third. And then I had to have a conversation with my 12-year-old son, and the first question he asked me was, "But Pop, he ain't doing anything." So that's the struggle for me as a Black male. To be completely honest, at 36, everything we've seen, I lived with all my life. So right or wrong, I'm somewhat desensitized to it because I've lived with it all my life. But when I see my 12-year-old son ask me a question, and his question is, "But Pop, he listened to what the cop said. He did the right thing. Why is he dead?"
That's where my pause comes. That's where my struggle comes right now. Because I got to look my son in the face and tell him, you're right. He did do everything. And then I got to figure out the right way to tell him to continue to do the right thing, but it may not always go the right way. That's my struggle right now.
Brothers, what I need you guys to do really quick, can you breathe in with me on 1? Can you unmute your screen for a minute? Because it's a lot we taking in every single day. We're taking in a lot. Okay? I need the world to hear how much we taking in, okay? Can you breathe in on 1 and exhale on 2? Breathe in on 1 and exhale on 2. Can you breathe in on 1 and exhale on 2? We're taking in a lot. I want to say thank you, brothers, for even doing that activity with me. It's important. We have to do that. We're not taking it all in all the time. Anyone else want a comment before we move on to the next question? Well, when I think about all these things that we're dealing with, I think about preventive measures. And the first question that came to my mind, because I'm just thinking about what can we do when it comes to police? Going back to Vernon, Vernon said, I have to have this conversation with my 12-year-old. 3 boys, my 3 black boys, and the pain that he's feeling. So this question goes out to Anthony Nolan, and I'm gonna go back to Vernon on this one. What preventive measures or solutions are needed to be implemented to stop police brutality? Now, Anthony, you are a police officer, right? And you've been a police officer 19 years, as well as a state rep who's working on legislative policies. What preventive measures or solutions are needed to be implemented to stop police brutality? And you call yourself a peace officer, not a police officer. Please.
I do. And first of all, let me explain peace officer. I feel as a police officer, my job is to go out there and create the peace. It is to dissolve that element in our community by constant interaction, by letting people feel like they can come to you with things that are troubling, or when instances go wrong for them, that it be a discussable problem-solving situation versus me going to them where now they fear, even though they did wrong. If people can be approached by police officers where they don't have to fear, I think that is the first step in making things changed. Right off the bat, I'm going to just go in real hard. We need to change the definition of things like use of force. Okay, because in that definition, it has reasonable. My solution would be to put the word necessary in there to replace the reasonable. To make sure that my actions are necessary, not because I thought that they should have been what I displayed. It was necessary for me to display something. We just went through this big COVID issue, and as you all seen on the news, and probably some of you knew in your communities, it appeared to be a lot less arrest. All that showed me is that we don't need to be arresting people. We need to penalize people. We don't need to arrest them and give them the record that they get when they get arrested for a crime that they can get a summons to court for.
Mm.
And on top of that, if you're getting a summons to court, you shouldn't even have to go before a judge. There should be some kind of prosecution that allows you to come before them. Going before a judge should be something like a felony, a hard felony. But all these misdemeanors, breach of peace, disorderly conduct, larceny. I'm not saying people should not be penalized, but a way to help the court system and a way to reverse the systematic issues that were built a long time ago against people of color are to eliminate those low-level charges so it stops packing records for people of color to make them have trouble getting housing, have trouble getting jobs, have trouble being part of anything that is called the norm because they had a record. I would say fines, but my opinion about fines is that we should try something other than fines. If not, then we should fine a person according to what they make. Some people make more money than other people. So there should be a sliding scale. If you commit a crime, you got to get a fine according to your pay scale. A lot of fines could be replaced with community service. Our communities need people to service them. So why put someone in court or in jail for something that is unnecessary, ties up the court, ties up our jails, and instead give them community service for something that they did? I also agree with counseling for those who have like domestic violence issues. That needs to be a little formatted a little differently, a little better. There's a whole lot of legislation that can be changed to alleviate how people of color are dealt with through the criminal justice system. And I can go on and on, Booker. I don't know how much time I got left.
I know you can go on and on. And that's why
we need oversight of police departments. We need to stop allowing friends prosecute friends in the police department. We need to start removing some of the military equipment that police have, unless there is some kind of instance where that kind of equipment is necessary, but it should be broken down so when it's necessary, you go and get it, or that there's a team that can go and get it and help you out. But it shouldn't be a normal daily basis. And we know about body cameras, and that even has to be questioned and looked at because you can turn it on and off by yourself. So whatever policy comes, and you need to check the policy to make sure that it's written correctly. And to sum it up, there's some, we all know there's good police officers, but we know there's still a handful that are rogue and that get out there and do things that they're not supposed to. Whether it's minor or whether it's serious, people need to be able to take police to court. If you do something that is out of your policy, if you do something that is not normal, police can't continue to be penalized by being just suspended. That person needs to have an opportunity to take that officer to court sometime. And vice versa, and the other way around. If someone does something out of the ordinary, maybe that should happen for them too. But there's a lot of policies that need changing. There's a lot of municipal things that need to be changed. And it's really hard. A big thing also is cities need to stop getting fat, meaning the pockets, the monies off the poor people. Way too much do we see the poorer people being the ones to pay all the things, pay the difference in things that they can't afford. And you see the people with more money, especially through the state. I know there's a lot of worry that some people want to tax the rich more. You make more money, why not tax you more? You know, and I don't know, Booker, you better go on to the next person because
I know, but you said something, Officer Nolan, that really resonated. And this kind of goes back to the question I want to tie into with Vernon Moore. You said the words that you stated were, we all know that there are some good officers, but there are also a handful of officers that are rogue. And when I think about Vernon Moore, you're not a police officer, but you have had encounters, and not always positive encounters, with police officers. And so we're looking at two Black men who have had different experiences, but I know you have had your experiences, Anthony, in the past when you were a kid, which led you to become a police officer. But Vernon, what preventive measures, as just a citizen, right? Like what preventive measures do you feel need to be implemented to stop police brutality from all the stuff that you have gone through as a Black man living in America?
So first of all, I agree with everything, Mr. Nolan said, policies and, tactics and all that. And to be completely honest, when I thought about this question at first, I looked at some things and I'm looking at numbers and all that. And I'm like, one of the numbers that caught me was there's 1,000 police deaths per year, 3 a day average. Of those, 450 of those are quote unquote justified police deaths, which leaves 550 at least that are unjustified. Of those 550 unjustified, 1% of those police officers are actually charged. Less than 1% of those police officers are convicted. Now, I look at that like me. If I have 550 homeboys that got charged with murder, 500 of them is going to jail. Point blank, period. Facts. I don't care how long. I don't care what the charges. I don't care what the sentence is. If 550 of my homeboys get charged with murder, at least 500 are going to jail for something. And as a citizen, we can talk policy all we want to, but the reality is when you grow up as a young Black male, you don't grow up seeing police as somebody who's supposed to protect you. You don't grow up seeing law enforcement as something that's equal to you. You don't grow up seeing law enforcement as something. If I get a speeding ticket, I'm nervous when I walk in the courtroom because I don't feel like it's going to go the same way that it's supposed to. And that's just a speeding ticket. So let alone if I get charged for drugs, if I get charged for murder, if I get charged for domestic violence, it's a wrap for me, for the people that I know. And that's the systematic problem that has us growing up, that automatically we have a bias against that whole situation. And then, God forbid, I have an actual encounter of myself with the police. I can honestly tell you that I don't know anybody that I grew up with who has not been dealt with one time because they just fit the description. That's it. Nothing else, nothing more. They just fit the description. Whatever else happened after that is what it is. But the reason they're encountered with the police officers because they look like something that wasn't good. That's a problem. So when we grow up and we know that a badge to us is almost saying that that person looks at you as if you're doing something wrong already, that's the problem. That's an issue. We don't feel equal to the other people in our community who can call the police. It's not a mistake that people in the hood don't call the police. That's not what is put out to be. A lot of times that happens because one, either the police aren't going to come in time, or two, when they come, they're not going to listen to what we have to say. So even if we call for help, if we call for the right reason, we have an anxiety. We have some kind of barrier to what's going to happen when that police officer gets here. And that's not myth. It's not stories. It's our own personal experience.
So relationship is the first thing that I think could help police brutality. There has to be a change in the thought process or relationship between regular people and the police. Like, don't get me wrong. When I was in kindergarten, first, second grade, absolutely. You ask that question to a kindergarten, first or second grade, what do you want to be when you grow up? Doctor, lawyer, teacher, police officer. That's what you're going to get. Professional athlete is even out that picture. At that point, the people who protect you, the people who take care of you, that's what you're going to get. Now, ask a fifth grader that same question. By the time that kid gets to fifth grade, police officer very likely not going to be on that list no more. Because unfortunately, if that kid is a kid of color, by fifth grade, he has had an interaction either directly or with somebody he cares about that has been a negative reaction, a negative interaction with the police. That's not a good thing. So the relationship is the first thing that has to change. Yeah, we can talk policy all day, but when I was in elementary school, when I was in middle school, when I was in high school, when I really had my interactions with the police, when I was a college-age kid, I didn't know nothing about policy. Policy wasn't important to me. I didn't know what was going on politically. But what I did know is I would hope that if I needed help and I called 911, the officer that was coming, black, white, brown, purple, orange, green, whatever, was coming to make sure I was okay. And that wasn't what the thought process was. So my thought is relationship first. However that happens, and I know we don't got a lot of time, so I'm not going to sit here and pinpoint what we could do. But the bottom line, the overall thing is the relationship, the perception has to change. Not only between us and the police, but police and us. Officer Nolan, I can't speak for you, but I guarantee you've had colleagues that they get a call to go to a certain neighborhood, and before they get to the neighborhood, just because they're going to the neighborhood, their mind, fame, and perception is different than if they were going to an all-white neighborhood. That's a problem.
That's a fact, yeah.
Because when that officer gets to that neighborhood, regardless of what the incident is, their mind frame is already somewhere else. The relationship is already severed before a conversation has even happened. I got friends that have been killed by the police here in Southeastern Connecticut. And I'm not going to sit here and go back and forth about what happened, but the bottom line is I guarantee a relationship, a better relationship, and a better conversation could have definitely helped the scenario. And I'm not saying who's right and who's wrong, but I know the perception in the relationship is severed. And that's what, in the community, amongst us regular people, what has to start first. The perception of when a cop comes in, what I'm thinking and what he's thinking has to change. It has to be better.
So,
Kevin,
yeah, I could tell you really want to say something here. Go ahead.
well, he touched on something really important that I don't think people think about is a lot of police have to be trained to be members of the community. Nobody will admit that because a lot of police live outside of the community that they work in. And they think that they could just come into the community and do their policing. But in actuality, they need to be trained to do it because some don't understand the dynamics in people of color. So it's a training process that they have to have because people, you just don't understand. You can't assume, and the other thing is we need, I need a better word than stronger, but implicit bias is a problem. And we need to constantly be trained in that because people assume because they're going to a certain neighborhood, because there's some drama in there, they assume that it's going to automatically be drama, like you were saying, Vernon. So they already got stuck in their head, when Crystal Ave was open in New London. Oh, we're going to Crystal Ave. Well, you got to take another officer over there with you. Okay. I used to walk up and down Crystal Ave in the middle of the night.
And I can honestly say, and I know we got to get to a couple of people, but I can honestly say, Officer Nolan, I grew up seeing you, but your goal in the community was be part of the community. Your goal was relationships. Your goal was to make sure the people that you dealt with understood that you were there first and foremost to serve and protect. So anybody who saw you walk up felt like no matter what the situation is, I'm gonna get my fair due. Right or wrong, even if I'm wrong. Officer Nolan coming, I was wilding, yeah, but I'm gonna get my fair due. And that's the issue. There's not a lot of Officer Nolans. I only know one, you. To be honest, growing up, us outside of that, the perception of the officers that I dealt with, or my friends dealt with, or my family dealt with, and it's not just in Connecticut, it's anywhere. The perception was there's no Officer Nolans. There's nobody trying to build with us. All they coming in here to do is answer a call, disrupt whatever they can, figure it out the best way they can and get up out of here. They don't want to hear from me what happened. They just want to make sure that they subdue the issue and get up out of here. Protocol or not, policy or not, whatever that case may be. I'm going into a situation, I'm going to handle the situation however I need to get handled, I'm out of here. And the problem is that don't work. These are supposed to be trained professionals who come in and handle a situation, no matter what the situation is, to the best of their ability. And that hasn't always happened. And that's part of the problem. So it hasn't happened so much that when they come into our communities now, we already assuming it's about to get up.
Vernon, I want to say thank you. Officer Nolan, I want to say thank you as well for your comments. For time's sake, if we can keep our remarks just like shorten it for about a couple minutes or so, because I also got two young brothers who are here who want to ask some questions as well to us, okay? So Wakime Hauser, I know you've been waiting patiently to respond to this, and Greg Bernard, definitely want to hear what you have to say. We'll start off with you, Greg, and then I'll go right to Wakime.
I'll let Wakime, he hasn't had the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, brother. Wakime?
Thank you. I've been arrested 10 times. I've never been arrested by anybody that looked like me. And I got convicted 2 times and with no evidence because the process. But I'm not going to speak upon that. I'm going to speak, and I have a good relationship with cops because when I moved to Greenwich from the Bronx when I was in 6th grade, there was one African-American or black cop, no matter how you want to say it, there was one. And every black kid in Greenwich knew that one black cop because he volunteered at the Boys and Girls Club. And when I left Greenwich, I never went back, and I've been at East Hartford Public Schools, Hartford Public Schools, and Greenwich school systems, as well as Greenwich police force, looked like Greenwich. It looked like Greenwich. There was one cop, there was like 50 black kids to 2,500 Caucasian kids. But then I worked in Hartford for a long time. There was one time, and Kevin knows what I'm talking about, we had an all black male staff, and we had kids on point for a short time. We had and then they kind of disrupted that situation. But other than that, every school system I worked in Hartford, the school system looked like Hartford, but the teachers looked like West Hartford. And now I'm in East Hartford, and East Hartford's school looks like East Hartford community, minority, 75% probably, but the teacher staff looks like Avon. But now if you go to Avon, that staff in that police force is never gonna look like East Hartford. It's never gonna look like Hartford. It's gonna look like Avon. And the problem starts there. The community should reflect itself from the bottom to the top, not the influences when they're children. And all they see is not us. So that's all I really have to say. If you can get the demographics different in the communities, then I think results there will still be problems because we're people, but the results will be a lot different because I understand people who look and grew up like me better than someone who doesn't. And when Officer Nolan said about you have to train people, like I had to be trained how to behave when I moved to Greenwich from the Bronx. There was the training process as a kid. Like, well, he said, your mama, so I was supposed to fight him. But in Greenwich, that was not allowed. That was a 10-day suspension. So that I had to get trained in that. And that took a process. I was always in trouble for the first couple of years because how I grew up was different than the kids in Greenwich, but I adjusted.
So when you say, Wakime, you had to be trained, right? Because he said he had to be trained in how to talk and deal with the police and everything, right? That leads us to like the question on the talk, you know, because we have to have that talk with our children, you know, and you know that code and that language, that talk, you know, and what does that talk mean when we have to have that talk? And in what ways do we have that talk right now during this epidemic, this pandemic that we're going, this crisis that we are in? You know, how do we have that talk at this moment? Because this is serious, you know, because like, you know, many kids, they say, geez, I don't even know what to do. Parents are saying, I don't know how to have this talk right now. Parents are frustrated. You know, emotionally, people are drained. So how are you having this talk right now? Kayron, how are you having this talk right now? Kayron.
Well, right now, I have two boys, 19 and 9. The conversation with my 9-year-old goes a little lighter. I try to express to him, you know, that you do have value, even though society may not view you with value. It hurts to have to tell my 9-year-old that no matter what you accomplish, there are those who will judge you and view you as someone with no value. But you don't let that deter you from wanting and striving for what makes you feel as a decent person or what makes you feel accomplished in your life. Now, going forward from that, my 19-year-old is a completely different conversation because it becomes more about what's the answer. You know, what can I tell my friends who are now at the ripe age of truly going through with the police because they're trying to find their way and the second chances aren't as prevalent. You know, he's in college. They're being silly, they're being kids, but they don't have the same judgment or the same opportunity for mistake as their white counterparts. So if they make a wrong move, they do anything that doesn't fit, this can be something that impacts them in their future for 10 years. And it's unforgiving. And sometimes even longer. You know, so the conversation with my son is, well, what can change that? What should we do? And then I have to go through and start talking to him about the ground level. First thing you do, fill out your census. Why is that important? That, dude, got to fill out the census because that opens up all programs and opportunities and so on and so forth. Next thing you got to do, focus on, you know, politics and voting. Don't worry about the president. That's nothing. Worry about who's getting elected as your judges, because those are the people that's going to affect you personally on a day-to-day. Who's the district attorney being elected? You know, focus differently. Don't listen to the news and the TV. Actually focus on the smaller things that affect you every day. And then when it gets down to the police and all of that, just make it home. Whatever you do, and sometimes what you do everything right, it still won't be enough. But God, I pray for you, just make it home. If you make it home or to the police station, I got you. I'll pay for any lawyer, I'll do whatever it takes. Just get there and we can possibly, if you could just possibly get there, I got you. Don't argue, don't fight, don't, just get there. And I got you. And it hurts even just saying that right now, because that should not be the conversation I have to have with my son, but that's what it is. Just give me the opportunity to get to you, and I'll take care of you. But whatever comes as you drive these corners and turn these streets, and when they run his tag, they see my address, and I'm hoping that it's enough for them to say, they might can afford a lawyer. Let me not. But they don't care, because no matter what our level of success, no matter where we move to, no matter what the address, it's still not stopping them. You know,
Kayron, you made a comment. You just said, I pray that my son just make it home.
Yeah.
I pray that my son just make it home. And you have to have that talk with your son. Now think about Wakime Hauser. Do you have to have that same talk with your sons? And even though your sons are biracial, is that talk the same? Because like some of your sons maybe be able to navigate through white spaces a little bit differently. And is that talk the same, or is it different?
The talk is tremendously different because they don't appear on the surface to be of color. So they get away with a lot more, and actually some of their encounters are extremely different. Let's just put it that way. Some of the things that they have done that I did when I was a kid, I ended up on the roof of the car, and they kind of just, got some things taken away from them. So it's significantly different.
And Steven, you deal with so many kids. You have to come in contact with a lot of kids, even kids that you have to mentor and things within that sort of nature. How do you have that talk with those kids?
That talk is difficult. So I teach U.S. history, and just reviewing America's history with these students is crazy. That talk, I infuse it almost like every day, like the importance of education, the importance of you being equipped academically to be able to get to the next level, and then the opportunities that await you when you're there. So that talk can be in the middle of a lesson. That talk can be when a student is having a few issues, right? And getting some things out negatively. So that talk can happen almost anywhere. It could be at the lunch table, but it has been interesting enough that I just got to say it, right? Our children, they don't fear authorities. I literally have watched outside of my classroom window an incident. We just had a series of fights towards before all of this started. And to see my students see the sirens coming and then decide that they wanted to dance in front of them and kind of almost taunt the cops. Oh my God, I had to rush outside and pull them away and say, what in the world are you doing? Wow. You could actually lose your life for something like this, and this is funny to you. So that talk, unfortunately, for some of them, because they are so, they are desensitized, and some of them haven't really experienced either being frisked or being locked up. To them, it's not serious enough. Even though we even lost a student a couple of months ago, gun violence, right? Sorry. In his house, just chilling.
Steven, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and so it's just been crazy, and I don't want to take up too much time, but again, going back to your question about that talk almost seems not to have a lasting effect anymore, unfortunately.
Wow.
Yeah. Can I jump in?
Please, Rob.
But there's a good and a bad to that. Many of us, regardless of where our parents were coming from, whether they came from an island, I might have been able to hear the AC over there. I don't want to be buzzing y'all in your ears, right? But whether these folks came from an island, right, the Caribbean, or if they came from the South, the fear is not, the talk is not just about common sense. It's about fear. I just process that. And then when I tell people all the time, when I was younger, we were raised, you don't talk about certain things in front of people who don't come from where you come from. You don't talk bad about someone in front of people who don't come from where you come from. Because to knock one down is to knock us all down. We've gotten to the point that we have so many conversations out loud that people adjust their actions to what they hear from us. So if a whole boatload of folks who don't care for you know that you tell your sons they supposed to be submissive, it's the way that my grandmother told me, listen, just get down. As long as you can make it home. Them jokers still killing us. But we playing the odds with our babies though. We playing the odds with them. Well, there's a good possibility that you don't get a snake today. So you don't get bit. So as long as you don't wave your hand or if you don't kick at him, you'll make it home to me. And if he mistreated you, I'll take care of it. Like, that makes sense to all of us until our child still gets hurt. So at some point in time, we can't sit back and say, I'm gonna leave it up to y'all to find y'all common sense to not feel like you have to take out all your pains on me. Do you understand what that really is? Jokers who can't jump higher than you, can't run faster than you, it might not be as strong as you, might not be as handsome as you, put on a uniform at times, and depending on how their life is outside, bring that nonsense to work and hurt our kids. And the only thing that we can do to remedy that is to tell them to submit. So submit, like, every time, like, and it's crazy because I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old, and no matter how much in my mind it doesn't make sense to me, I feel I'm still gonna have to do it because I have to do my due diligence. But for the young folks, they like, yo, man, we dying in all these other places. Now I'm gonna sit over here and I'm gonna let this person talk to me like they my mother or my father. You remember that when y'all was younger? And you get around teachers and you get around people out in the community, and the first thing a young person will tell you, you're not going to talk to me like you my mother or my father. Them young folks demand respect. Then when we get old enough and we get jobs and we figure that, yo, you know what, we can move here and we can move you out of this. With this skin, you cannot go to any community in the world and escape this. So at some point in time, we just got to sit and say, listen, either we're going to build our own or enough is enough and all of us not going to make it. And maybe instead of putting it on the kids to submit, the father's got to get outside and be there at every point in time, right? You see a young person going down, it's like, yo, you know what? I can't accept that because if that's my kid, what am I doing? Could you imagine if God bless the dead, George Floyd was younger and that's your son? We supposed to sit there and plead and tell somebody, no. If your son fall in the lake or the ocean, where you jumping? You jumping in. Your son fall in the shark-infested water. I think about that all the time. I went to the aquarium and I said, man, that walrus is huge. The walrus was like 5,000 pounds. Man, I grabbed my kids and I held them close to me. I said, man, because if you fall in, we both probably gonna die, but I'm jumping in. There ain't no winning with the walrus. I can win with a man. I don't care what nobody says, but I just process that. I'm like, yo, because I know, Brother Book, that's nothing against you because we go through it together. And your kids are older than mine, so you in it already. And I'm just like, yo, we don't have no rules around like what's not acceptable. Not accept, like this ain't it. When you know you cross this line, you're gonna have to shoot everybody. We ain't get there yet. I don't know when we gonna get there, how we gonna get there, but I pray that if I'm around any other brothers on the line and somebody is with your kids and something's happening, that I have enough fortitude to jump in and do my best to help them. I pray that. I pray.
Brother Greg.
I think your brother has something. Oh, go ahead. My bad.
Yeah, I know. Brother Greg, you've been waiting patiently. Yeah.
No, I just wanted to kind of piggyback a little bit off of what Rob said. Rob and I, Rob is the president of the Alumni Association at Southern, and I'm the liaison to the Board of Trustees. And we had a great conversation yesterday talking about the police component. And the two things I just quickly wanted to share is that we talked about how there used to be neighborhood police that were actually in the neighborhoods, building relationships and being that barrier between the rest of the police force and the youth in the community, and starting to kind of build that relationship so we have a different perspective of what that looks like. But from the standpoint of the selection process, there needs to be a vetting process from a psychological standpoint. Why are you here? Why do you want to be a police officer? Do you want to protect and serve, or do you want to wield that power? And a lot of people don't necessarily think about that when they're going through that vetting process, when they're choosing the police. So there needs to be a more thorough psychological process about who is this person and what's the ethos of this person's makeup, because we are empowering this person with over life and death over our Black babies and our Black men in our communities. And if they have an approach where it's not about protect and serve, it's an ego thing, or it's a Napoleon complex or something. I wasn't the man in high school and I wasn't able to do these certain things athletically, and now I have an opportunity to do X, Y, Z, and you're hiding under the guise of protecting and serving. That's a problem for us because we can't control that. That's a systematic issue that needs to be controlled. So those are the two things with that. The other thing is I have a biracial daughter, and my daughter was blessed enough to have, progressive and accepting parents and grandparents and great grandparents. Both her great grandparents recently passed away. God rest their soul. And she was exposed, but we lived in Southington. So she saw progressive, warm, open arms, and then she saw the distance and the inequity right in front of her. So we've had to have those really difficult conversations early on. And there was a time when she was with me when I was pulled over for no reason whatsoever in a predominantly white town. And she was crying and so upset in the backseat because she couldn't understand it. Like, Dad, you followed all the rules, you did this, you didn't do anything wrong. And I had to, kind of calm myself down and have a conversation with a 4-year-old about the way that the world works. But also think about, what if my daughter wasn't in the car? How could that interaction would have went? So I don't have a son, but I have many men that I've had an opportunity to be mentors to. I have nephews, and those are the types of conversations that we're having. And I think the spectrum of how we deal with these things and how we educate our young men and women how to navigate, all of it matters. It's all important. We need a little bit of Martin. We need a little bit of Malcolm, because for years we appealed to the emotional side of people. Let's show them these pictures. Let's show them Emmett Till. Let's show them the lynchings. Let's show the videos of people being hosed. Let's show them the videos of people on bridges when Martin marched across that bridge. That didn't matter. Then we tried to appeal to the intellectual side of people. Okay, since you want to be an intellectual and look at us as subhuman and less than, where's the scientific evidence that proves that you are any more smarter or capable or aspirational than I? Here's the science. That doesn't matter. So now when we're peaceful, still an issue. Colin Kaepernick. When we're violent and we riot, still an issue. So of course there's going to be, we don't have any recourse. We can't breathe literally and figuratively. So we have to lash out. And those are some of the conversations I've been having with some of my white friends and about the ethos behind rioting and looting and things of that nature. And that's why it's so frustrating for me trying to educate my daughter, who has to straddle this line and has already had to deal with some of this adversity as a young woman with her intersectionality, as a woman and as a biracial woman in this world, and seeing her Black father doing things like this, but that shit still doesn't matter. Still doesn't matter. And that's the issue that I have. is that we can't walk around with our resumes floating over our heads so people can say, oh, he's okay, he's a good one. That didn't stop Amy Cooper from pulling out her phone. Amy Cooper was a VP of the company. She could have been Kayron from the Dollar Tree and it wouldn't have mattered, because that's the hypocrisy and the power of privilege, right? And this gentleman went to a Ivy League school and was a bird watcher. Wouldn't have mattered one bit. And that's the frustrating thing. And what I alluded to in the beginning is the illusion of success and accolades and how we feel like we can navigate and be equals in certain rights. But when it comes down to it, none of it really matters. Now, I apologize if I, kind of backtracked a little bit, but I thought it was really important to talk about the psychology of the selection process with these people that are supposed to protect and serve us, and what the why of why they're hired and why they're there in the first place.
Thank you very much for shedding light on the psychological aspect of it. Kayron Booker.
I just wanted to briefly say, I wanted to make a comment earlier about what was with the police and what could be done differently. And that I'm more solve the problem oriented. Now with the police, we're asking somebody to make split-second decisions and actually have enough intelligence to care, but we're not paying to get those type of people. Realistically, I don't know about in Connecticut, but in North Carolina, starting pay for a cop is $35,000. Who's going to be cream of the crop coming in at 35 grand? Outside of those who truly have a passion for this, you're not getting the cream of the crop. Now I got somebody coming in at 35 grand as a rookie, making a decision about my life. Then whatever benefits, whatever perks do they have to be a cop? So you're talking about going from one bad situation to the next bad situation, to being overstressed and coming after you. I don't know what they just left before they got to me or what they got to deal with when they leave me. But if I have to interact with that cop, it's too much. So a resolution, and look, make the pay higher. Same thing with teachers. It's the same concept. You want to make the pay better. Then the better people will want the job. Next step, offer some vacation time. And if we want them in the neighborhoods, is it possible to come up with some type of grant program to give these cops the opportunity to buy homes within 8 miles or 5 miles of the precinct, so that way they can live in the neighborhood? If we start taking some of these initiatives, we'll get better people and we'll put them in the neighborhoods. And when they're around the neighborhood, guess what? As I spoke to a cop, and I told him some of these things, he said, sounds good, but if you live in a neighborhood, well, my family's in jeopardy. I said, exactly. So you're going to be mindful of what you do, because you don't want your family being judged the way you judging my family. So I personally just feel like resolutions are the answers. And it's simple. This is not complicated. Give them the opportunity, put these cops an opportunity to take care of their families to a good level, a good standard. Give them an opportunity to have some homes in our areas, so that way they want to protect what they have as we protect what we have, and we can work together. I'm out. Go ahead.
Vernon Moore, I know you have a comment you would like to make in regards to this conversation.
Real quick. Yeah, I do. Kayron, I agree with you, but I will say this. I do disagree with one thing. Regardless of the people, I'm a school social worker. I work in the school system. I totally understand that the pay for teachers as well as police officers, public service in general, I'm a fan. I think that if you teach for 10 years, you should be a millionaire, personally. Same thing with an officer. If you are an officer and you're on the beat for 10 years and you have an exemplary record, you should be paid, you should be a millionaire. But the flip side to that is, when you choose to sign up as a police officer, when you choose to fill out that application, when you choose to go to the police academy, And when you choose to be a police officer in whatever precinct you're assigned to, you should also have the obligation to choose, regardless of if you live there or not, your responsibility as a police officer, as a sworn officer of the law, regardless, should be regardless of your pay, to protect the community that you serve in. I don't disagree with you that they should be paid more. I do agree. But just like a teacher, and I work with teachers all the time who, no doubt about it, should be paid more. But I work with teachers who are horrible because they don't want to, teach the kids that they're dealing with, and they're frustrated about whatever the system. But I also work with teachers who have the same salary and the same system, who bust their tail to build a relationship and be the best teacher they can for those students, regardless of the pay. And just like a teacher, if you choose to be in that profession, you know what the pay and what the risk is with the pay. Just like with a police officer, you know what the pay is when you sign up. It's not a secret. It's not like you see the contract after you sign the deal and then you go in and realize, oh shoot, I'm in a tough community and I only make 40,000. You knew that before you signed up. So when you signed up, after you saw that paycheck, you still have the responsibility to take care of the community that you work in, regardless of the pay. I do agree that no doubt more pay would bring more cream of the crop, but it still doesn't excuse the people who choose to be in that profession and still not do it the right way. Your pay doesn't change that. As a social worker, if I said, you know what, I don't get paid enough to deal with 30 kids on my caseload, I only get paid enough to deal with 15. So I'm only going to give 15 kids the best of my ability. The other 15, we'll see what's up. Nah, that's not going to work, regardless of what I get paid, because my responsibility is all 30 of those kids. And all 30 of those kids deserve 100% of me, regardless of what my paycheck is, because when I signed up for it, I signed up to give them a service that they deserve, regardless of what the paycheck is. So that's my only argument to what you say. But I do agree, if you pay more, you probably get better. But regardless, this is not forced. This is not a draft. This is not the military. They have an option and they're voluntarily joining these services. So when they do that, pay or not, they have a responsibility to do it the right way, period.
Vernon, thank you very much for that comment. I appreciate that. And since we're talking about the youth, and we're talking about kids, that talk that we have to have with our children, I brought in two young men who are organizers, who are doing great work in their community in New London, the city of New London. And they just finished their first year of college at Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And they're organizing their first protest this Saturday at 12:30 in New London, Connecticut.
Wow.
The only thing I'll say to them real quick is I'm a Clark Atlanta kid, so Morehouse is only the second best school in the AUC, but I respect y'all fellas.
And these young men have been waiting patiently, listening to us. And this is about, I want to, because they're the next generation. 20 years from now, a lot of us will be a lot older. They're the next generation who will be in those positions of leadership. And they were listening. So Sean and Shane, if you, I'll start off with you, Shane, and then I'll go right to brother Sean.
Okay.
If you can, the question that you have been thinking of, if you can address it to any of these men right now. Can you unmute yourself? You gotta unmute yourself.
Oh yeah. All right, Officer Nolan. Can you just explain to me what's the process of the police training and how long the academy is? I just want to have just an idea of like what's the police training and just everything that goes with it. I just want to visualize it.
It's been a while since I've been in the academy, so I'm going to say 6 to 8 months is how long the academy is. It's both a physical and a educational process where you must do almost like a gym class every day, work out every day, and it's a classroom setting every day. to do the process. You got ask me a few specifics so I know what you want.
Yes, I just want to know, are there any cultural competency trainings being involved during like the courses or anything with the community that's going on during the academy?
It's brief to almost none.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not, unless it's changed in the last 10 years. I haven't been in the academy, or 20 years. That is a good question for me to look into. But when I went to the academy, it was minimal, brief, or almost none. And that's the same for, I believe, police departments around the state. There is not enough training for anything to deal with the differences of cultures.
Wow.
Okay. Thank you very much, Shane, for that question. And Sean, I know you have been listening as well. What comes to your mind right now during this crisis that we're in, the social injustice that you have been seeing as a young man for all these years? You're in a room right now with all these extraordinary Black men. What's coming to your mind?
I would say a lot. I think almost like I'm desensitized to it. I'm frustrated, I'm angry, vindictive. So it's a fuel of emotions. And now I'm very solutionary and thinker. So I'm like, how can we, dismantle the system? How can we combat this? Because this is a plague. This is an epidemic, because it's not just happening here; it's happening all over. So I've been just trying to figure out some solutions, because we can always discuss the problem, but it's like, what are the solutions that we can have, and how as a collective can we utilize these solutions to ultimately disrupt and deconstruct these societal systems that are built to oppress people, because the origin of policing, well, in this country specifically, originated from the overseers and the slave catchers. So we have to figure out and disrupt how policing is looked at. We have to look at that in this country, and we have to recreate and redefine what policing is in order to have some type of resolution with this, I think.
So
Yeah,
you like to see more of like action steps.
Yes.
Right. So I have a question for the two of you right now. You guys you're the organizers behind a protest, right? A rally that's taking place.
Yep.
What made you actually want to organize at this point, and why did you decide to organize and create, be part of this movement?
You want to start? I think we were just really frustrated with, we dealt with police brutality firsthand in the New London community. Our cousin, Lashana Gilbert, he was murdered by the New London Police Department. So it really hit harder. And we're like, we're older. We were 8th grade then. We're older now. Still up and coming grown Black men. So how can the community understand and know that this is happening right in our own city? And let's shed light on it, and shed light on the millions of others that have been, castrated and brutalized by the police. So we decided we were fed up and wanted to, really organize and protest just to spread awareness, because oftentimes here in New London, Connecticut, there's a notion is that it can never happen here, but the reality is it happens. It does happen.
So then the next question is, because you guys are talking about like action steps, right? What would you like to see from the generation now? What do you need from us?
Just support, honestly, because I feel like a lot of students, they were scared to speak against the police officers before everything was going on. I feel like just having a protest, it gives students just a platform to speak and be honest, and that it's basically a safe space that they can be honest and tell like that police officer did me wrong. Because I know my encounters with the police. I got racially profiled when I was in middle school for just waiting for my little brother at the school bus stop in New London. So just all these different circumstances, it's enough's enough. Like, we're tired of our people getting brutalized, killed, and murdered, especially our generation. We're social media. So everyone's sharing, and we're so desensitized. It's just like, wow, like, it's crazy. And people don't understand until it hits close to home or until it's a trend. I feel like that's when people start to get it. But we need to react now and game plan. So I feel like, yeah, petitions, policy, legislative. So it's just a lot, but it's just like, what can we do? We're peaceful. When we're doing the right thing, we get killed. Like, when people are violent, killed. So it's just like, what can we do? And at this point, it's just about using our voice, organizing, and just hoping for the best, but not always speaking up at this point.
So, gentlemen, you are all listening in right now, and you're listening to these young men who are going into their sophomore year of college. And you listen to their pain, their struggles that they're all dealing with right now, and they're organizing. They're really trying to move our community forward. You know, what do you see as some of the action steps we can take, you know, as an individual and our communities moving forward? Because even some of you right now in this Zoom meeting, you know, you have dealt with things in your youth as well. Some of the same pain. And they're saying action steps. That's what these young men are saying. They're screaming it, yelling it, action steps. I'm gonna go to Greg, and then I'm gonna go to Kayron, then I'm gonna go to Wakime, and then I'm gonna go to Rob, and then I'm gonna go to Vernon, and then I'm gonna go to you, Officer Nolan.
All right, really quickly. First and foremost, thank you, young gentlemen, for joining us. You are our future, literally and figuratively, and we appreciate you taking the time to join us on this call. The first thing I would say is be vulnerable, and it's okay to talk about how you're feeling with your fellow brothers. I think as men, we've been conditioned to internalize things, and it's not been okay for us, you know, historically, to talk about some of the psychological and emotional things that are fueling and just going on inside of us. And having forums like this is a healthy example of how we've progressed so much, so far, so quickly, as men of color, being able to come together and being vulnerable and sharing these things with each other. Collectivism versus individualism, right? Our country is predicated on being the best in this individualistic mentality, but I wish I had the mentality 15 years ago with my boys where we could have pooled our resources and invested in something together, got a property together, bought a plot of land and built a damn parking lot and let a little computerized thing make money for us while we're still pursuing other interests. So pool your resources and save your coins and be constructive about how you do things together. Any building that we're in, any complex that we reside in, there's probably a conglomerate of white men that own that shit. It's just facts. When we get together and we're politicking and having a couple drinks here and there, instead of talking about, you know, the Lakers versus the Clippers, do what they do on the golf course. Talk about what's our 2, 3, and 5 year plan collectively, how we can pool our little bit of resources and start an LLC, or at least have some capital set aside so we can help each other out. You know, West Indian tradition is something called susu, where we all pool money and put it into resources, and everyone gets their turn to get a lump sum of the pot in order to do something constructive with that money on an annual basis. And a lot of other cultures, they come over, the native, the Middle Eastern cultures, the Asian cultures, even the Mexican cultures, they come over and they made those sacrifices short term to live together and come from small means, but then they take care of each other, and you turn around 5 years later and it's a whole damn neighborhood. You know, like having that mentality of collectivism and taking care of each other and not worrying about, you know, hustle for your last name, not your first name. Think about us as a collective and not your individual. So those are the things that I would impart to you, is get your brothers together and think of how you can make change and pool your resources as opposed to doing it on your own. because it may look like other groups are doing it on their own, but behind the scenes, they're using other people's capital and they're pooling resources in order to make money and take care of their own and establish legacies for their future.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bernard. Mr. Kayron?
He's muted.
You have to unmute yourself.
You were saying that what could be done, so briefly, what can be done in the immediate present to help is step one, fill out your census, is due by July 1st. If you guys are 19, get on your parents, tell them to fill it out. It is very important because it helps chooses the president more than your real vote, because it's electoral votes. It also gives a lot of programs and everything back to the community. It also helps with the House of Representatives and how many people represent our area. The next thing that you need to do is make yourself familiar with the judges, your district attorney, all of these people that actually are voted into their positions. Research them, find out how do they vote, how do they, what was their lawyer background, find out everything you can about them. And if you can mass all of your friends, relatives, wherever your license represents, and hold them accountable. Let them know, like, we're the reason you're in here. So if this case comes before you and we don't like the way, then we're getting someone else. The more that our votes are represented on the local level as well as the national level, the better chance we have to get respect. A lot of times we just don't talk about how to impact the true vote. It's just a lot of our grandparents, great-grandparents, they fought for it. They understood the importance of the vote, especially the local vote. And it's something that we've just completely turned our backs on. We talk about voting, but we're not adamant about it, especially on the small elections that come every 2 years and every year. But that's it. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Booker. Wakime Hauser?
I think we have to get organized as well as specifically point out our needs. What I'm not seeing and hearing a lot is exactly what social justice looks like. It just it's just being said, but specifically, we have to outline exactly what we want. We want, ultimately you want less people being harassed, etc. But what really does that look like? We have to be very specific, and we have to have wants and needs and write it down. And listen, this protesting, this situation is not changing until we get, A, B, and C. And then we can start talking as we work on D, E, and F and progressively get better. But we have to know exactly what we want and not just throw a general term out there like social justice. It's too much to social justice. So we have to be more specific. And when we can outline as a whole community, which is difficult because we're talking about this is not just Connecticut or Hartford County and New London County. This is the whole country. So organization is a must. And that's going to take discipline and a lot of good folks and a lot of time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hauser. Rob Felder.
Yeah, so for me, the thing that really comes to mind is it goes with the back of what Wakime, that's how I feel like that's how you pronounce your name. I hope I did, bro. Like, what are we really fighting for? Right? Are we fighting for people to get off our necks? Are we fighting for people to stop punching us? Are we fighting for people to stop disrespecting us? Are we fighting for people to treat us right? The other day I had a live and I said to folks, I said, we gotta be able to process and call things what they are. We're in an abusive relationship, right? And if this was a family member that you were talking to, how much would you tell this person, no, well, he keep beating you up. He keeps mistreating you, but give him a chance. Like, he'll figure it out. Like, if that's y'all daughters, and I don't know if any of y'all got daughters, but just think about that. I think we hold on to certain things, and it's like, I think we want Dr. King's dream more than other people. We want to, sometimes I feel like we want to hold people's hands, and we want to walk, and we want to be able to talk and play basketball in neighborhoods, and we want to be able to sit down and eat with everyone, and everybody doesn't want that. And I think at some point in time, we either got to let people catch up to us, but we can't slow down. We can't slow down our entire society and community. I'm talking about Black folks. We can't consistently slow ourselves down, hoping that everybody else gets there. Right? No matter how much protesting we're doing, like, think about it. I think sometimes we only look at it for our time frame. And so for young brothers, you're just getting to college. Everybody going to call, I believe, is in there at least at mid-30s, right? Or older. We can't afford a whole nother generation of folks hoping that people are going to catch on and treat us well. Because we got 400 years of people before us saying, I hope it changes. At some point in time, we just got to say, you know what? If you don't love me, I'm gone. And that doesn't mean we got to leave America, but do what they do. Right? We always looking for diverse communities, but tell me which diverse community has a proper mix of Black and brown businesses, a proper mix of Black and brown people who live there, as well as other folks who live there. Like, is there a proper mix? Like, what does diversity truly mean? Is it a sprinkle of Black and brown folks and predominantly white? Like, when folks go home, they go home to people who look like them, who represent the culture that they represent. And we're the ones who are consistently trying to say, well, yo, let's just all come together and mix up the pot. Like, in theory, when folks get on CNN and CNBC and MSNBC and they say that, but then when they go home, their communities don't look like that. And I'm not saying that we got to go to segregation, but I'm just saying at some point in time, all these things that we want to fix, in the way that Greg said what he said, yo, we got to start to pool our money. Well, we better be able to walk outside and see each other also. We better be able to talk to each other, not just on the phone, but walk outside and say, yo, hey, could you watch my car? I'm gonna leave my window. Oh, you ain't got to worry about that. Oh, hey, I'm gonna drop little Rob off. Rob gonna sit outside. He's just gonna chill with your kids. I'm gonna drive around the corner. Half the people who talk all this stuff and all of us who sit here, we might not even live in nowhere next to the same neighborhood. Can't even walk outside and see somebody that looks like you with the same mentality. So I'm just saying, let's decide what we're fighting for. Like, I'm fighting for us. I want us to do well. I'm not sitting up here no longer fighting for people not to beat us up. Like, I just can't process. I'm always talking to a bully, trying to express to the bully that you're hurting me. Like that's how the relationships feels to me at times. And I don't know if anybody else feels like that, but at some point in time, we just got to process and say, yo, you already know what this is. I can't give you another 100 years. I'm not giving you the next 30 to figure this out. So let's just decide what we're fighting for. I'm fighting for us, a better day for us.
Thank you, Mr. Felder.
Right.
Mr. Moore, Vernon Moore. Action steps. Yeah.
So first, Rob, the end of what you said, let me just say, like, part of the conversation that I have with some of my good friends, good friends that are white is they ask the conversation, like, what can I do? And, some of the frustration, first of all, comes like, yo, and I was gonna say this earlier, but touch on it too. It's crazy because, the George Floyd video has really woken some people up, and the fact that they actually saw the video, what I'm saying, that has really touched some people in a different way. But the flip side to that is like, I get the video touched you in a certain way, but that ain't new. So I'm glad you got excited now, but yo, I wish you had called in a long time ago. So it's tough. So a lot of the conversation that I have is like, just please, like, for the people that I can't talk to, that you could talk to, have that conversation that you're having with me. So I feel you on that. Like, what are we fighting for? Who knows? But sometimes it gets to the point that you can't keep having a conversation with people who are not listening. So, you know, the people who I rock with, who can have those conversations with the people who don't listen to me, please do. Because I can't. I'm tired. You can't. But to my two young boys, first of all, shouts out to you for going to HBCUs.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to y'all for that. Even though it's Morehouse, I'm a Clark Atlanta Panther to the heart. But it's all good because we AUC to the core. You already know what that means. So I really respect you fellas. You know, I've known y'all before y'all got there, and I really respect who y'all been as young men from middle school to high school to now. So I want to give you guys your flowers while you're here on this Zoom call, because you guys are amazing. You are two amazing young gentlemen, and you need to hear that. You need to know that as Black young men, as young men, period. Who you have always been and what you have always stood for, I respect, and anyone who knows you respect. So I want to give you that first.
Thank you.
But to answer the question, action steps wise, and I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I'm not gonna go to where everybody else is going. What I'll say to you two young men is, action step wise is continue to be and do what you are doing. You will face a lot of adversity. You will face a lot of naysayers, and some of them look just like you. Some of them sound just like you. Some of them are in the same positions as you. Some of them are in the same rooms as you. And they gonna sound real convincing sometimes. And whatever their agenda is, doesn't matter. The bottom line is they don't have the same agenda as you. So what I will tell you is, regardless of what they look like and who they are, you two gentlemen stay who you are and continue to do what you do, and continue to think for yourself and move forward as yourselves. Because what you two gentlemen are doing, setting up the protest, being at Morehouse University, being at a HBCU, walking those Atlanta streets when you down there, coming back and being in Connecticut, wearing your Morehouse gear, being who you've always been, that's gonna be hard enough.
Yeah.
All right. Every day in your life is gonna be hard enough. So you're gonna have days where you gonna really question what it is you're doing and why you're doing it. And on those days, I want you to remember this conversation in this Zoom and what people are telling you. You're doing the right thing and you're doing it for a reason. And don't let anybody tell you differently.
Yes,
Your
sir.
action steps, whatever you come with, because you could do a protest here. You guys might do, something down at Morehouse where you guys put a group together. Your action steps will be whatever y'all feel necessary. So I'm not going to tell you specifically what you need to do, because to me, that'll depend on what path and what direction you two choose to take. But whatever your action steps are, my words to you in those action steps is stay confident in what you believe in and stay confident in who you are, and do not allow anybody outside of that who is not for you to deter you for what you're doing. And pay attention to who's around you, because you'll have people close to you who are really there to change your mind.
Yeah.
Feel me?
Yeah,
So
I feel you.
So make sure you two stay close. Make sure you keep who's close to you, but make sure you don't let anybody deter you from what you know is right and what you believe you should be doing. And as long as you keep that, your action steps will take care of themselves. You'll always do what you're supposed to do. You'll always be in the light you're supposed to be in, and you'll always be in the right. You'll always be good. Even when it looks dark, you'll always be good. Just stay that path.
Thank you. No, for real, thank you.
So we're coming to our closing remarks. I have Brother Curtis Goodwin, who's an extraordinary leader within just New London County. He's doing phenomenal work, and he's been listening in, just taking down our conversation, listen to our conversation, and also is going to help us process things and help us get to the next level of action steps, so that the community, the state of Connecticut, people who are chiming in right now, they have something they can take away from this discussion that we had this evening. All right. Thank you very much, Curtis Goodwin. Curtis Goodwin.
Can you guys hear me? You guys can hear me?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Light some stage because that was a lot to unpack.
No.
Oh my gosh, I had to light some stage. That was a lot to unpack. Let's just start there. Shane and Sean and any other the young men's on here. Really quickly, just to address you guys, I typed up some stuff because there was just so much to kind of go through and I don't want to miss my place or forget anything that may be important. But to Shane and Sean, specifically to you guys, channel out the noise and center yourself in whatever it is that's your conviction and be leaders in anything that you choose to do. Doesn't matter what it is, be the best at it. Don't care if you end up as a janitor, be the best. If you end up as a football player, in the army, as a professor, be the best in your lane and be a leader. All right, so let's start.
Thank you.
Let's start with the title. Ironic during this revolution. So a man was lynched yesterday. So I want to add something there. A man was lynched yesterday and a Black son was murdered today. Mr. Booker, Councilman Booker, Professor Booker, all those titles in between. It truly doesn't matter about the title. Just thank you for putting this together so that all of us from these different communities could be involved in this level of thought leadership in this dialogue. Dialogue is essential to cancel out some of the noise. Thank you to all these incredible gentlemen that are on the phone. I appreciate you. I listened to everything you guys had to say. I'm able to take some things with me in all the different titles I wear to create actionable items and to make sure that we actually get to progression. So thank you. So let's transcend this emotion into powers. We have to put action behind these ideas, each generation with a bridge into the next. The young people are tired and we know they can be misguided. But their pressure allows us with our education, our platforms, and our experiences to add the necessary and essential strategy that is needed. But let's not be fooled. At the end of the day, if we don't rebuild and develop and push the agendas of our communities ourselves, why would our allies and white counterparts be expected to do so for us and even do so effectively? This energy in America and globally is necessary to advance real change. We are collectively now in position to do so. So my brothers, I truly hear you. We are silenced and far too often uncomfortable. You can hear it in your voices. How often are you, myself included, the only person of color at the table, itching with a burning desire to say, I have an idea? How often are we offered or afforded the freedom and the privilege to be in a position to speak up and say, excuse me, that policy is ineffective. Can we try this solution? Or here's what I came up with. Could you at least give it a look? Well, guess what? We have attention today. Pressure your local and state politicians to, pressure your local and state politicians to correct your community's inadequacies, and do so now, period, end of discussion. Be sure your community's policies reflect strategies that pridefully exemplifies the advancement of our young people of color. They will bring change under our leadership if we equip them with tools. And I slowed that down for you. We know what those tools are. We either went without them or we exhausted ourselves trying to find them. Focus on our youth. Nobody can win that war. So some common themes that I noticed throughout the conversation that I want us to either follow up on or unpack for the next time that we reconvene. The need for more prayer and involvement in our church. The need to vote. Because when we vote for our Black counterparts in politics, we magnify their voices at the table. You vote low, the power of their voice is dimmered. We need a critical focus on bridging gaps between generations. The next thing I learned is that imagery is important. What we and what youth see are subjective examples of success. The media cannot get away with their systemic marketing strategies to oppress us. Credit and finances are non-negotiable, and that information needs to be embedded into our youth from the beginning. We should set up a Zoom call with some of our Black elected officials. Let's regionalize our efforts and offer feedback and support. It can no longer be lonely in these seats as we fight for legislation. Schools, you need to reimagine and realize you are the vehicle. Collectively push back on the state if you need to. No child left behind leaves many children, Black children, left behind. Reimagine community policing through policy, through tackling fear and deep-rooted systemic culture of policing in America, i.e. use of force, i.e. the justice system needs to hit reverse and eliminate low-level charges and punish people, not charge them with a life sentence and fees and time that they cannot undo and function as self-sustaining Americans. Tell your Black celebrities that we will no longer build them mansions so that they can build agendas for the white man. Human resources, the pressure is on. LaQuisha is a qualified human. You overlooked her with your ATS system. That pipeline that you're building needs color and it needs women. And to all my white people, my allies that are tuning in, it is okay for Black people to have spaces for Black people. We are not the threat. You need to unpack that bias and that fear. Politicians, myself, Booker, Nolan, there's a pattern in budgets, period. Every institution and business should commit to one day of at least cultural competency training. Don't say you do it already. What you've done hasn't undone was systemic. It's part of the problem. Dated to a time where some of us, or our ancestors rather, were still picking cotton. Be present. So the path to what next varies for all of us, but they run parallel. Don't hate the Black politician, we need them. Don't hate the young protesters, we need them. We all complete the puzzle if we stop criticizing each other's different lanes. There are strength in numbers, and we cannot commit only when systemic racism allows, encourages to be murdered. Let that sink in. The strategic next steps have to be focused on challenging that very system. So let's magnify our voice, let's strengthen our plan within our communities, and offer each other feedback and support. Our generation now is positioned to push things forward, and we must, and we will. Our youth are marching, they're protesting, they are loud, and rightfully so, they are angry. Our bridge to them will be built. We will mobilize and will take our strategy directly to the oppressor. And if and when they do not listen, our strategies should and will already be in the hands of our elected officials. So thank you for your time, thank you for your commitment, and thank you for starting to mobilize. Thank you to all of you guys that tuned in on Facebook Live. Make these conversations go viral. We have work to do. Be encouraged, stay safe, and let's not let this energy go without change. So for all of you guys on this call, or it's being shared on Facebook, let's replay this Zoom and look for actionable items that we can take up. Doing nothing is absolutely unacceptable. Shane and his brother Sean and their peers need our shoulders to stand on. So find those action items, be clear, negotiate at the table with an agenda, not a broad spectrum of what this idea of reform looks like or is. Come back, let's talk about it, and let's figure out what's next. No more Black sons can die tomorrow. Let's regroup. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Curtis Goodwin. Appreciate your closing remarks.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
So what I would like to do in closing, I'm gonna have each one of you say one statement or word about this discussion this evening. Okay, I'll close off with you, Officer Nolan, because you can close off with a prayer as well for us. Okay.
If I can add a couple more words, Curtis. Brothers, I don't know if you know, but Sean and Shane were very instrumental in getting African American studies in the Connecticut schools.
Right.
They both came up to the Capitol and they spoke eloquently and pushed an agenda that a lot of people's minds were changed that weren't going to support it. But those two young brothers, Kings, definitely are leaders, not only in New London, but in Connecticut. And, you know, I love you too. And I appreciate all you're doing. You stir up things in me to do more for y'all. So keep it up. And when they said our shoulders are for you to stand on, they really mean that. Because there's some things that you're not going to be able to reach, that we will be there to pick you higher so that you can reach them. I just want you to remember that.
Thank you.
My one word, I feel blessed. Blessed. I truly feel blessed after having this conversation. So I thank all you brothers, and I want you to know I love all you brothers, and that you know our names and numbers are up there for a reason. So please take advantage of it.
Wow. Jeez. Wakime Hauser.
So much to say, but I'm gonna keep it short and just say the time is now, this very moment, 7:59, not a minute later.
That's right. Well said. Vernon Moore.
One word, blessed. Thank you, gentlemen. Kevin, thank you.
Thank you
for this opportunity, man. This was special. And gentlemen, thank you for allowing me to be here and share the space and share your mind. Sean and Shane, you two are amazing. Continue to do what you do. Nothing but love for you, brothers. And man, God got something special for you two. Just know that. My one word is focused. And that could have so many different meanings, and it does for me, but at the end of the day, focused. So I'm focused, and I hope that those that have joined in are focused. I hope that the gentlemen on this call are focused on really, moving forward and doing what we need to do, whether that's in, obviously for our community, but first starting at home, focused on making home right, and then moving on to your community. So I'm focused.
That's right. Thank you. Greg Bernard.
I share in the sentiments of all the gentlemen on the call. This has been amazing. Just the diversity on the call and all of the walks of life we come from, but we all have something to offer. The one word that really sticks out to me is education. If we're not educated and equipped to fight the system that's been built to oppress us, then we're on a hamster wheel. Financially, academically, and politically, and governmentally. Those are the 4 pillars of education that's going to lead to our own autonomy and our own freedom. So what we want to do as a collective to keep this conversation going is have workshops based upon all of our skill sets. Kevin, Wakime, Rob, we all met 4 or 5 years ago and started doing these workshops and building off of each other and taking pieces and elements from what we all bring to the table to build our own companies and our own brands. And it's our responsibility to share those things with the Shanes and the Shawns of the world. But it's really about education so we can free ourselves while breaking down system, building our own up. That's the real way that we can make change, through education.
Rob Felder.
First, I just want to tell you this was awesome.
Yeah.
I was in the back, even with the AC, I started sweating, and I was like, man, like I won't lie to you. I know some of us, we have not met in person, and like I'm so big on steel sharpening steel. Man, every time somebody went and I was like, man, I thought I just put some heat out. Like my man, he didn't came like, come on, bro. Like, so I'm over here wiggling the chair and I share that, especially for Shane and Sean. You can see brothers, you can see fellas who are looking to do it right and not be afraid to do it with them.
Right.
Right? Like you run your own race. Like we run our own race.
Yep.
And see, I'm born in the 80s, so it's like the word dope it never leaves my vocabulary. Right? Like be dope in your own right. Like, and I tell people that. And be dope in the sense of nobody else has to give you freedom. You got it up here. Like, right? Freedom is a mindset. Don't give that up. And as long as we're out here and we're rocking and we're rolling, you know, there's nothing that can stop us if we decide to hold each other's hands and walk forward. And when folks don't want to hold our hand, tell them, listen, we'll see you later. I hope you the best, but I can't waste no time. And I think Brother Moore said that. I can't waste no time trying to get you there. That's for this whole entire situation that we're going through. If people don't want to go to the promised land with them, tell them we'll send them a care package from there.
Jeez.
Right? We'll send them a care package from when we get there. Because our faith is what's got us through. Regardless of what we believe in, whether Muslim, right? Whether Christian, whether Catholic, same thing, right? But regardless if it's Judaism, no matter what it is, like no matter what we claim, our faith consistently gets us through, but it's also in that belief that we'll always be great. All the faces on the call right now, like, yo, we represent the faces of the original man. Like there's power in being first. There's power in being the original. And I think for us, the one thing we got to do, and I'll leave you with this, claim it. Claim your power. Claim your authority. Claim who you're supposed to be and your impact on your communities. Then we can worry about everybody else. When we fix us, then we're dope. Like anything that we do in large numbers, we are the best at. We are the best. If 300,000 of us decided to be cops tomorrow, we would be the best cops. Because there's a certain number, and I'll leave you with this. And I'm sorry, I know how I get, Brooke. You know how I get, man. I'm gonna do my best to leave you with this.
Rob, I know.
There's a certain number that when we get to a certain number of Black folks that do anything, we become the best. Look it up. Though nobody knows the number because nobody can tell me what the number is. And I don't do math like that. But regardless of what it is, when we reach a certain number, we are unstoppable. Generation after generation, regardless if it's sports, regardless if it's music, no matter what it is, once we get to a certain number of us that we're pushing out and all of us to get involved, we are unstoppable. So I'll leave that with you young brothers, man. Claim it, own it, get your folks on board, get those who want to ride with you, and y'all ride to the mountaintop. Be blessed.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob Felder. Kayron Booker.
All right. Shane, Sean, congratulations, man. When you are able to go back to college, I'm probably the closest person on this call to where you at. I'm in Charlotte. So anything going on, hit me up. I could be there in 3 hours. Outside of that, and I go to Atlanta sometimes. So like I said, you know, Kevin, just get my number, whatever. I got y'all. Outside of that, fellas, thank you. You know, I want to thank you to everyone on this call. I I haven't really felt this since I was 16. When I was 16, I had the privilege of doing the first Million Man March. And on that bus ride was incredible. I was surrounded by a lot of Black men like yourself who encouraged me, because at the time I was the young man and I was the future coming. And what I took from that is what I take from this. It's greatness in all of us. You know, when we hang up this phone, go to war. Grab all that you can, everyone that you can get a hold of that will listen to you, that will follow you, that will come under your umbrella. Take them. Go to war. You know what needs to be done. You know, and I wish all of y'all the best, and whatever I can do, just call me. I come to Connecticut, I'll go to Atlanta, it don't make a difference. Let's do it. I'm out.
Curtis Goodwin.
Man, just want to say thank you again, Kevin, for orchestrating this and putting this together. Sometimes this is enough to re-encourage us to go back in the spaces that we're in and to truly make change and really just, like he said, like go to war on policy, go to war on education, go to war on mental health, whatever's needed. I forget the gentleman's name that just spoke about giving them their contact information. I am so grateful that you said that, because that's important that we mean what we say and that we connect with these young brothers so that they're not lost to go out into this world alone to defend it by themselves. It shouldn't be that way. That's a part of bridging that gap. I also say to you, Sean and Shane, I have relationships with every single HBCU here, every single one. I partner with the College Diversity Network. So when it comes to employment, I know Dell, I know Facebook, I know those human resource agents, and I work with them on hiring you guys. Tomorrow I sit on a conference call, hiring over 100 different interns from HBCU so that they get jobs at Dell and HP. They are invested. It just took more of us getting at the table to make sure that we tell HP, Dell, Facebook, that you spend this money on Black America, that you build that pipeline with Black America. So be encouraged at HBCU. Don't let no one tell you it's not an Ivy League school or it's going to hinder your chances at progression. I know very well that HBCUs are sought after. People spend lots of money to make sure that they can find you. So be encouraged. Be leaders. I can't stress that enough. Be leaders in everything you do, and network your way to the top. And then as soon as you get a chance, reach back. That's a part of cultivating that pipeline. And I want to say, I'm sorry. I am sorry that it took this long for us to start fighting for you and with you, but it changes today at this hour if it didn't change yesterday. So be encouraged, and you may mess up. We don't need to be perfection. There is no such thing. You are a successful Black person by just being on this call. You are part of Black excellence. Thank all of you guys on the panelists. I hope at some point we can meet up soon, or we can continue these Zoom calls. And Kev, thank you for organizing this. This was powerful. This was incredible. And make these conversations go viral, people.
Yeah, can I just say one more thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to say that I hold this to myself, and I don't say this often to people, but I feel like I got to say this. There's a phrase that has always been in my mind for probably like the last 20 years, and I just got to put it out there. You can't deny greatness. Period. There's no ifs, ands, or buts to that statement. You can't deny greatness. Take that and run with it. We are great. And as long as we continue that, we cannot be denied. Greatness cannot be denied. So, sorry, but thank you.
Oh, that was beautiful, man. Sean and Shane, before Officer Nolan closes out with a prayer and everything for us, Sean and Shane, what are you taking away from this discussion? I'll start with you, Sean.
My one word is, productive. I'm all about meetings and conversations, but I really want to get something out of it and making sure that it's productive. And I'm taking away, just more steps and action steps that we can do to, hinder and disrupt this problem. I'm appreciative, Mr. Booker, for you allowing Shane and I to be on this call. And I've just been taking a lot of notes and hearing each and every one of you input. And, just really appreciative and just still like thinking with like a solutionary mindset of how can we, you know, challenge and interrupt this issue in the future, because, you know, this can't happen. This can't continue, you know, when I'm a dad. So I really appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate you as well, brother. Shane?
Yes. I just feel so confident right now because I haven't had this energy since I left Morehouse when we talked about what it means to Black excellence and having conversations with other Black men. So earlier this week, I was working out, just like down myself, just like, because I can really see the people who are for me and who are against me. I'm just like, why is this person not really understanding what I'm seeing? Why they're not riding for me? And I'm just like, and I was talking to God, I'm just like, it's kind of like a blessing and a curse when you're trying to lead people, because it's either they love you or they hate you. And I was really having an internal conflict with myself to be like, do I want to be liked? Do I want to be loved? Or I just got to do what I got to do and fight for what I got to believe in, no matter if it's putting my life on the line. But I came to a conclusion that, like, yeah, I'm just so confident right now. I'm pumped up for Saturday and, you know, just game planning, how I feel like everything's going to turn out great. And I just want to thank all you brothers, because you guys are success. I look at you guys are leaders in our communities. You guys are successful, and it takes us. We can't focus on white people to try to make a change for us. It takes us as Black men, Black women, to do what we do and to be great. We're all great. We have our own different lanes of greatness. So I'll say, just run with it. Love y'all too.
Wow, love you too, man. Officer Nolan, State Rep. Please, that was a lot.
Glory to God, y'all. Glory to God. Glory to God. All right, let's pray.
Yeah.
Dear Lord, we come before you first to thank you for your guidance and your protection and the wisdom that you were able to implant into Mr. Booker for having this evening tonight. We thank you, Father God, for all that came out through us, Father God, that those that are watching were able to hear, take, and run with, Lord Jesus. We ask you, Father, to allow people to use what we said tonight and put it out there in our community so that it will flow into the ears of others, Lord Jesus, so that we can stand together and make the changes that are needed, Father God. We ask, Father God, for those that may watch, that might not understand, that might hesitate, that might think that we're going in the wrong direction to get what is necessary for us to get. We ask you, Father God, to show them what we've struggled with for more than 400 years, Father God. And how, Father God, it is now time to change the things that have been going wrong in our community and across the country, Father God. We ask, Father God, for you to bring a light in and allow them to see the things that they've been playing with in the darkness, Lord Jesus, that they have struggled and continue to struggle with seeing, Father God, how they treat people differently, Father God. And we just ask, Father God, for you to pour blessings into us that would allow us to be who we are supposed to be, children of you. And we ask, Lord Jesus, all this in your blessed name. I ask you to protect the two young kings, Father God, along with the panel, Father God. Allow them, Father God, to stretch their arms wider than they think they can, Father God, to get over the obstacles and bring home the rewards as they fight for us to have what we're due for. In your heavenly name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I want to thank you all for joining, having this conversation this evening. I appreciate you all. I love you all. I love you, all of you brothers. I mean, you're some extraordinary men. And let's continue working together and building together to move our communities forward and also our state as well. So, you know, this is what we need. This is the dialogue we need. And I just want to thank you all so much for this great opportunity just to come together as one and as a unit and a unified front. So thank you so much, brothers. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I I really appreciate you all. I love you. And I hope you have a good night, and I look forward to connecting with you all very soon. Have a wonderful night, everyone. Love you.
Love you too. You too.
Love you too. Back at you. Peace.